tree down because of,
Okay.
but it's an indication of problems, and these are the symptoms of the problems.
And is there anything that can be remedying the problems, perhaps?
The problem is I don't know what the problem is. I can't see anything obvious here, other than the foundation of the house, that would imply disturbance.
Now, the only other clue we could offer is this pit right here was another tree, apparently, that was removed shortly before we moved in.
Oh.
So maybe when they were taking that up, but it seems like it might be kind of far away from the roots there.
Right. Unless they were bringing a lot of heavy equipment in here when they were working,
Okay.
I doubt that that's it. Although it could be if the
So,
equipment was heavy enough.
Then with this tree here, you're saying all the tips are dead. Do they just need to trim the trips off, or do they need to go further in down the branches?
They only need to prune further down the branches where the weight is, because the weight is the only thing that you're concerned about here.
Okay.
The tips are just your symptoms indicating another problem.
Okay, so are they gonna take off just dead part or just a live part also?
Most companies, with this tree, I would just take off some dead. They may want to open the canopy up some, but you can see the sprouting on the inner part of the limb. Those are suckers.
Yeah, someone was talking about those last year, and they were bad. They said. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, it's a sign of stress.
Okay.
But if they take anything more than live limbs off, what the tree's doing is it's trying to put out new foliage, so they, more chlorophyll, produce more carbohydrates, sugars for the trees to work with. So if they come in here and take anything but dead off, they're counteracting what the tree is trying to do to compensate for itself.
So just take the dead off, leave the suckers on there.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know.
Now they may want to take those off, but
encourage them to leave them.
yes.
Okay.
Less work is better in this situation.
So just remove the dead from this tree, and it looks like there's a lot of it going all the way up.
Yeah, but you only have to worry about the dead where there's enough weight to do damage.
Okay, so like I'm looking straight up, like at the very top. There's stuff right over the branches, over these wires here too, so they would need to even deal with some of those.
Well, as a rule of thumb, with weight, you're talking about a 2-inch diameter or bigger.
Okay.
That's probably a 1-inch diameter limb. However, when they're up there, anything they can get out is good for you.
Okay, very good.
That's going to be hard to get to, because they have to have a rope above them as a safety as they walk out on that limb to trim that.
Got it.
Depending on that guy, what he feels comfortable with will determine that.
Understood. Okay. So that takes, is there anything further on this tree that you...
No, we might talk about your neighbor's trees, though.
Yes, those are fair game because they're over our house.
Yes. And in Virginia, anything that grows over the property line belongs to you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Even though the root is on their side. Okay.
Yes. So if that tree falls down, it's your tree. So it's obvious that both of these trees have considerable amount of dead in them. Your car and your carport are both target areas for them. However, they're going to need permission from the neighbor to climb those trees.
We have a good neighbor.
Okay. If they have a bucket truck, they might pull the bucket truck in here and be able to get to everything with a bucket truck.
Now, last year we noticed that on the farther tree that it didn't bloom until much later than everything else did.
That's typical of beech.
But part of the tree had bloomed, and part of it had not. And I thought
that's a bad sign.
Is it? Okay. And it's like, oh, we're going to have to remove it. And then like 3 weeks later, it's like, oh, there are leaves here.
So yeah, it should have all been happening at the same time.
Okay.
And you can see both of these trees are showing damage on this side, which again is a reflection of root damage on this side. It could have been when they built the carport. It could have been when they built the house. I don't know if the carport was built with the house or not.
I imagine that it was. All the houses have it.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of the houses of this style have it.
But this is symptoms of something negative happening on this side.
Now, when you say something negative happening with all three of these trees, is there indication that we should be taking them down completely, or is that just overreacting at this point?
So at this point, we're mitigating the hazard by removing the limbs.
Okay.
Once the hazard's been mitigated, then there's no arboricultural justification for removing the trees.
Okay.
If your damage is down at the base and there's a chance that the tree could fall over, then you would have to take the tree down to mitigate the damage.
Okay.
So there's another situation here, which is economics, which you have to deal with.
That's, yeah.
So if these are continuing to decline, you have to determine at what point you're going to stop investing money in them and go ahead and remove them and start over.
Okay. But it sounds like from just the tree pruner's point of view, there's no compelling need to do that quite yet.
That's right.
You just take the limbs out, see how the trees fare. Okay.
Hopefully they'll recover.
All right. Very good.
So the big red oak that's right over the house,
It had a big branch that we took out last year.
well, you can see there's one over here.
Yeah. Off to the left.
There's two of them. Actually, one above and one below.
Yeah. Okay.
But what concerns me more is on the trunk, you see where two big limbs have been removed in the past.
Actually, maybe even a third one up above them to
Yes.
the right. Yeah.
You see the swollen area is callus material. It's kind of a scab for a tree.
Okay.
But what my concern is that was such a large limb, this big, that probably the previous homeowner cut off,
Yeah.
that I don't know that that tree is able to recover from it. So when you have a person out here with either a bucket truck or climbing, they should go up and look at that and determine if there's decay behind that or not.
Okay.
Because that decay could be a much weaker point and much more significant than the dead limbs above it.
Okay.
So,
And that's what you just bang on the tree to
yeah, so,
you have the mallet. Yeah, I remember you did that last time.
so get them to do that up there. And while they're up there, if there's any holes, take a tape measure, take pictures with dates on it so that you can compare it a year from now to see if it's declining or recovering.
Okay.
So, you know, they would address that at the same time they're going up to take the limbs out of the top of that.
Right, and it looks like actually there may be some limbs off to the right coming off of that
Yes,
tree that are
it's hard to tell with the foliage of
in the
the other
background.
tree.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think you're right. And that's a lot of limb loss for that tree.
Would that be an indication that maybe it's better just to try to bring the whole tree down?
That would be a judgment call on your part.
Okay.
Again, you can mitigate that problem by just taking the limbs out. However, if there's decay in the trunk over here, that problem would be much more significant, and that probably would justify.
Okay.
It depends on how far the decay goes in, but oaks don't tolerate that very well.
Okay.
And that's a native oak. And these, the white oak and the beech, neither one of these tolerate development well either.
Nice.
But they're beautiful trees if you can save them,
Exactly.
because so many of them are lost when communities are developed.
Right. Because we like to build our houses on pancake lots as opposed to treed lots.
Yes. So the willow oak over here,
Yeah, it needs some help, but
it has some dead. I don't know that it has high target value to the limbs that are dead.
the main limb that we've seen on this one is actually